pleasure to be here. Again, this is my second rodeo. I hope I can stay on this time. But I see a lot of friends and a lot of people that I've had the opportunity to meet with through the last election cycle and such and such that we have. Again, I'm Dr. Wayne Johnson. I'm from Macon, Georgia. I'm joined tonight by my beautiful bride of 52 years, Joy. The secret to me married 52 years is his and her batteries. Works every time. I'm a husband, of course. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. We've got a new one on the way. She'll be here probably in the next 2 weeks. Melody Joyce will be named after her now passed away grandmother. I'm a rock solid conservative. I'm a problem solver. On your desk, or was handed out to you as a little 8-page brochure. I can't stand up here and talk about myself because I get sidetracked. But this will give you some insight to what I'm about and some of the things that I've done. I'm experienced in business. I'm experienced in the military. I'm experienced in working in Washington, D.C. I worked for President Donald Trump. I was actually introduced to President Trump by the late great Senator Johnny Isakson. He advocated for me to become part of the United States Department of Education, where I was hired by Betsy DeVos. I had the opportunity of briefing the president on multiple occasions. Interesting little side story. Before I got the opportunity to sit down with the president, I had to go through a mock of Trump first. So a little piece of information. There's the Oval Office in the West Wing, but just above the Oval Office is another Oval Office, and that's where Amaka's office was. And she had the portfolio of being responsible in the interface point for the Department of Education. So I had the opportunity to meet and talk to her. Very, very smart. She got it. So why do I want to run for Congress? Well, I don't really want to run for Congress. I'd like to be appointed if y'all can do that. Since you can't. And by the way, I found out that being appointed to the executive branch was pretty cool. But we got to go out there. We got to convince voters in this district that I'm worthy of your trust. Just the math alone is kind of overwhelming. I don't know if you're aware, but the 2nd Congressional District, which runs from Macon to Thomasville, over to Bainbridge, up to Columbus and back, is the largest geographic congressional district east of the Mississippi River. It's a lot of real estate. And I can promise you, I know it every inch of it because I've went to all 30 counties, 30 counties. And now you ask yourself the question, why is this district so large? And it's because it keeps losing population. A congressman with 435 members of Congress, and right now we're supporting about 750,000 people. And when you lose population, they have to stretch the boundaries. And that's the reason that this district, quite frankly, just recently picked up, or last cycle picked up Thomas County. I want to be part of stopping the stupid in Washington. Now, when I came up with that slogan last election cycle, I thought, well, that's pretty clever. That'll get some attention. We can have a good jingle with it. If you hadn't heard my jingle, we'll play it for you. We actually put it on bumper stickers. We put it on the side of the cars. We did everything short of writing in the sky. But what's actually happened since then is it's really become our mandate. We have got to stop the stupid in Washington. And the stupid manifests itself in multiple ways. $35 trillion of national debt is stupid. I was in Argentina when that country defaulted on its national debt, and Joy was with me, and we saw people literally, elderly people literally breaking windows out of banks to get to their deposits. When they couldn't satisfy the national debt, they froze all the deposits in the country. We had people, I was running a bank at that time, in our lobby, threatening to kill themselves in the lobby of the bank because they couldn't get access to their deposits. Now, I'm did. And I'm proud to say I was the only bank in the country that actually honored all the deposits. Very important. It almost went to jail. So, national debt. When I was in office with President Trump, the national debt was at $20 trillion. We've added $15 trillion to the national debt in the past little over basically 3 years. Education. I am so sick and tired of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the I was the #3 person in the U.S. Department of Education, and every day Secretary DeVos asks two questions. What are we doing for taxpayers? What are we doing for students? Never once did we say, what are we doing to make it comfortable for everybody to be their pronoun of choice that day? This is a bold statement, but it's an accurate statement. In addition to running for Congress, I'm also currently advising President Trump's transition team on what to do day one with the U.S. Department of Education, and the answer is dismantle it. I am so proud of our legislature and our governor for coming up with the first step towards school choice with the voucher program. Absolutely needed. I'm all for public schools, don't get me wrong, but I want them to be good public schools. I don't want them to just be taking the taxpayers' dollars. Now, I'm known as the federal student loan guy. Now, let me put that in perspective for you. I was appointed by President Donald Trump to be in charge of $1.6 at that time trillion of federal student loan money. I was the person that was supposed to make sure that the FAFSA worked, that the money went out the door, that we collected the money. And what I found, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, I actually got my PhD awarded 3 months before I was hired by Donald Trump. And my doctorate is in higher education finance, and my research field is on the stupidity of student loans. Go read it. Eyes Wide Shut, Understanding Private Student Loan Finance. You can look it up. So what I found is I'm an operations guy. I was doing a fantastic job, and my team was, of making a broken system run. So one day I woke up and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to figure out how we can stop this. Interesting piece of fact. 85% of all the student loan debt in this country will never, ever be repaid. It's not intended to. It's back-end grants. The Democrats put in place these convoluted programs. So we have got to stop making student loans. Stop it. And of course, you know, right now we're caught up in all this debt cancellation, and all it is Democratic vote buying. Now, if you're going to stop making student loans, you better figure out what you're going to do to actually help people get advanced. And the answer to that is some defined limit grant money. So, and if you're going to give defined limit grant money, for those who don't want to go to school, you ought to give them a tax credit because they chose that path. And if anybody paid their own, then you also give them a tax credit. So it's all about fair and equity and balance. But before you can talk about student loans that happen, you got to talk about what you're going to do going forward. And we all learned the lesson: when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. We're in one hell of a hole. I can tell you that right. $110 billion a year going out the door. The border. The wall is important. But let me tell you what's ever more important. The minute you come across that border and you touch American soil, and you come from certain countries, you can declare amnesty. The problem with the border, the biggest problem with the border, are amnesty laws. If you're, and by the way, if you come from Mexico, you can't declare amnesty. But if you come from Nigeria, you come from Venezuela, you come from China, and that's who's flooding across the border right now, are people from other countries, and they're taking advantage of our amnesty laws. And once you declare amnesty, it's 10 years in the country, free ride. That's what's got to stop. It's changed the amnesty law. So Simon's got to go up with energy policy. Joy and I started our marriage by living in Fairbanks, Alaska, and constructed the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. And we saw firsthand that caribou and bear can absolutely coexist with the pipeline. Okay? Recently, just last week, President Biden said, we ain't going to go drill in western Alaska. Guess who's most upset about that? The Alaskan natives. They want you to drill. They understand how the economic power comes to bear. I'm going to finish up in just a second here. So energy, and to quote, you know, I'm always amused when we say drill, baby, drill. It's pipeline, drill. By the way, the Keystone Pipeline, I don't know if anybody knows why, how about President Biden stopped the pipeline. Because it crossed an international border, he had the ability to execute executive authority. If that had been a pipeline from Georgia to California, couldn't have done anything about it. But we need to reopen the Keystone Pipeline. I was recently in Thomasville, and a guy talked about selling his radio station. Said it took 10 minutes to do the deal and 1 year to get the FCC to approve the transfer of the station. Foreign aid, we got to start with making sure that we're taking care of folks at home. stupid. 32-hour work week. How many folks believe that a 32-hour work week makes sense? Nobody. I mean, nobody.
The
We're
French
still
do.
trying to, pardon?
The French do.
Well, that's good. You've been to France, right? Okay, and then the biggest stupidity of all is Republican infighting. We have got to stop fighting amongst ourselves. As a great Republican once said, a house divided cannot stand.
That's right.
And we got to start there. So we got to focus on the working class, the kitchen table issues, making sure things work right for us, and we've got to back off the Democratic, basically indoctrination of cultural radicalism. I'll throw it open for questions. Yes, ma'am.
In your last campaign, we talked at our high school reunion. I'm the Georgia higher education whistleblower. You may remember. I don't know, Denise. Anyway, Tucker Carlson said in 2023, he said there is nothing more corrupt than higher education. And I brought that to your attention. And the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia is known, as you know, and I know Senator Williams knows, the untouchables. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones stated in 2024, he said the Georgia legislature has a responsibility to hold public officials accountable. That's a direct quote from him. And by the way, we're gonna be meeting soon with him. Would you please explain why your degree in higher education finance, you said stop the stupidity in DC. I have been walking the halls of the Gold Dome for 10 years trying to stop the stupidity at the Gold Dome.
Well, first of all, when I first went to get my doctorate in higher education, I wanted to be a college president. But then I discovered that exactly what you said, higher education, I've coined a term for it, is one of the most institutionalized freebooting in the entire country, in the entire world actually.
That's right.
Billions of dollars come in, they get to set their prices at whatever they want the price to be set at, and the Democrats have rigged it so that there's an unlimited amount of money to match up against their unlimited pricing. And so the net result of it, and by the way, everybody wants to attack, or at least the Democrats want to attack, what they call the for-profit schools. What they're attacking are your trade schools. They're attacking the schools that train your barbers. They're attacking the schools that train your nurses assistants. Right now, those people do not understand just how, quite frankly, greedy our colleges.
I do. I was in the office of the president for 15 years here in Macon, Middle Georgia State University. I had to process $400,000 bonus checks to the president who was sleeping on the sofa for 3 years.
Yeah.
You have not responded to any of my emails, Senator Williams.
And we could get into that, but you're absolutely, and I'd love to tell you about it, and I've written an article.
I've heard that
called
before.
Institutional Freebooting.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, well, as Congressman, I'll do my best. Anything else?
Yeah, you was talking about inflation.
Pardon?
You was talking about inflation.
Yes, sir.
And I've been struggling big time with inflation. Before Joe Biden came in office, I was living in a trailer park out in Jones County. I was halfway happy, minding my own business, and all of a sudden, the first month Joe Biden became president, my rent went from $400 to $700 a month, and my utilities doubled. In the last 3.5 years, I have been living on the streets and apartments I don't want to live in, and dirty motels I don't want to be at. When is it gonna stop? What are you gonna do to help make this stop?
Well, inflation is driven by free money in the system, and Biden has put $15 trillion of free money in the system. We gotta stop putting free money in the system. This gentleman's telling me I gotta get off the stage, but I'll be happy to join you. And what I really believe in is that Republicans have got to be physically conservative, but socially responsible. And part of our social responsibility has got to make sure that people don't have to suffer from, incredible levels of inflation. So thank you so much.
You take one more.
Yes, sir, I'll take any questions. I'll stay up here as long as you want.
Oh, we'll give you one more. We'll make sure we buy it.
I'm sorry.
Similar to the whole, talk about money. So with Social Security and Medicare in particular, there's also Medicaid, especially those students will pay for their whole
all backed by the full, quote, faith and credit of the United States government. There are three mandatory funding programs in the government. There's Social Security, there's Medicare, and there's student loans. And one of the reasons student loans is out of control is it's in the same category as is Medicare and Social Security. So technically, under the way the laws are written, those three programs get funded before anything else. But the only way everything in our government is getting funded right now is borrowings. And guess who's loaning us the money? China. So you have got to, if I'm in Congress, you gotta hit me, but you gotta make sure you keep saying to me, Wayne, I want a pot of money set aside. I want this pot of money set aside. I want us to be able to have auditors account for it and represent to the people that the money is actually there. All right. Early voting starts on Monday. I respectfully accompany you to ask for your vote. And secondly, he's not in the audience here, but you got the Monroe County Reporter, and that's the only conservative newspaper that I've run into in the entire district, so please.
All right. He's not here.
It's on that side, but he's gone.
He had to leave, yeah, that was, yeah.